Hi, welcome back to Wildflower Widows. We are Nic and Mel. What are we going to talk about today, Mel? Anger. I'm sure you guys are probably going through anger of your own. Some of you may not. But I do think that it's something that a lot of us battle with. And for me, it started around week 2 after losing my husband. Week 1 was shock and desperation. Week 2 was, why has this happened to me? Why has this happened to my husband? Why does this have to be us? Why can't it be some of the terrible people still walking this earth? Why do they get to stay and good people get taken? And the anger has just consumed me at times. It's been a real battle. And I have to work at it continuously to try to find ways to settle it down, because I know it won't change anything, and it's not going to bring him back, and I don't want to live my life battling anger and becoming an angry person. So it's something that I am trying really hard to get my head around. I have been told that anger actually is an emotion that we use to suppress other emotions that are hard to sit with. And, I think we all understand how horrific the pain of our losses and the frustration and the devastation. You can only sit with that for so long before you don't know what to do with yourself, and you have to find a way to get it out of your head. And for me, oftentimes that's a shift into anger, or I don't even know I'm shifting into it. Some little irritation just sets me off, and then off she goes like a volcano. Mel has had, I've seen a few. I've actually been scared a couple of times. Don't cross her.
Look, don't cross an angry widow, okay? Even if you're a widow yourself.
So how have you gone with it?
Yeah, look, pretty much the same. After my husband passed away, I went through a lot of different emotions, obviously, but anger was definitely one of them, and one that just keeps rearing its ugly head up from time to time. I feel as though I've got a better handle on it these days, but jeepers, I went through a really, really, really angry stage where I literally was a very angry person, just angry at the world, angry at everybody. Why did they have to take him? Why?
Yeah.
And you know what? I was so angry at the fact that everybody still kept going about their normal lives. The world kept turning still. Everyone just kept going like everything was normal. And I'm like, well, hang on, things are not normal. My husband just died. What are all you people doing, just walking around like nothing happened?
Yeah, that's true.
And that made me really, really angry.
I mean, and most of the world don't know what you're going through, and even the people that do know don't realise that it takes up every minute of the day.
Oh my God!
Even when you're driving your car, when you're doing the dishes, when you're talking to someone, having a conversation with someone, there's a little portion of your brain that is actually not in the conversation. It's over there with your grief and your anger and up you, universe, for doing this to me. How could you take him? How could you take his life? All the things he misses out on, all the things that we miss out on, and the things in our lives that will never, ever come to fruition. The anger around that type of stuff just sits there. So, oh, hello, how are you having a lovely day? Oh, that's great. Oh, you got a new car. Oh, that's so nice over here. What? So that, and I think people don't realise that's what you have to battle all the time. So when people see you and you seem a bit checked out and you don't look like you're fully in the conversations, you are doing your best, but you can't be fully there. And the time, I'm sure, will come where we can be, but it'd be great if the world could understand how hard it is, right?
It's so hard. It really, really is. And the amount of times I've had to contain my anger. But I think in today's episode, what we sort of want to touch on a little bit later is a few things that, we found helpful to help us in our anger. Because Nic and I have both had outbursts at people because of our grief and anger, and probably, you know, not the wisest thing to do. I think in the moment it felt great to let this anger out and take it out on this particular person, right? But then in hindsight, it's like, ooh, that was a bit fiery, wasn't it? I don't normally do that kind of thing.
Something that always really annoys me is when I see people that I haven't seen since my husband died and they see me for the first time. You could see them going, oh, I wonder if I should say something. Oh, better not. And so they don't mention him and they don't mention what's happened. They just go, oh, how are you going? And you know they know, but they don't say anything. And it's just like a knife through my heart that, and, you know, some of them will eventually say, oh, you know, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to mention. I shouldn't have mentioned it. It's just reminding you, and you know, oh, I don't want to upset you. And it's just, I feel like I want to wear a sign around my neck saying, "Don't worry, you won't upset me. I'm upset all the time."
Yeah.
And don't worry, I haven't forgotten. So it, you know, and people are just trying to be kind, and I have to keep reminding myself they're not doing that to be hurtful. They are trying not to cause me more pain. It's just it's unfortunate that people don't understand that it means a lot to us when they mention your husband or your partner, and it hurts a lot when people don't. And when there's conversations, when you're out with your friends and they're talking and bantering about things that you've done in your lives together and they don't mention him as part of that anymore, it hurts so much because he's still part of my every waking moment and always will be. He's the father of my kids, and, you know, we don't just stop talking about him like he was never here. And it just makes me so angry that the world doesn't seem to do the same.
Yeah. Just on that, I went to an event, it was actually a wedding, and I saw this couple who I hadn't seen for a while, and you know, they were just chatting to me, you know, how you going and everything, and I said, oh, I'm not sure if you heard, but my husband had passed away, and they said to me, oh yeah, we just didn't want to mention it because we didn't want to remind you. And I said, oh no, you're not reminding me, I'm aware of it 24/7, trust me. Yeah. And like my blood was boiling, but I'm like, no. Like they had good intentions. Yeah. That's the thing. They've got good intentions, but it just made me so angry. It's like, I have not forgotten about my husband passing away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. I've been angry at my husband for dying. The anger that I just feel to be left behind, and then the anger that I feel at myself for even daring to think, is there anything he could have done to prevent this, you know? And so it's not just anger at the world, it's anger at him for dying, it's anger at me for being angry at him, and it's just this circle of thoughts and chaos. You know, it's hard. It's a really hard. And when Mel and I, we've spent a bit of time talking about today and talking to you about anger, and we struggle to know how to talk to you about this because
how to put it into words.
It's something we can't quite get a handle on. We don't have anything much to impart except that we're angry. And sometimes we're angrier than other times. And so we don't even really know what to say about this except to say, if you're out there and you're angry, you're not alone, and we're all going through that. It's a natural part of having to move through what we're moving through, and we just want to try to find some ways to get some of the anger out. There's been some moments that I've just completely lost my mind, and
go on, share a story with us. Go on. What have you got?
About 3 months, when I was about 3 months past losing my husband, I was with a friend and we came across some roadworks, and there was a 40km/h sign, and you know, your people on each side of the road with the push button traffic light controllers stopped my car. I was the first one at the lights, and he yelled something at me, so I put my window down and he goes, you need to slow down, and you're coming there too fast and whatever. And I could have just said, oh, sorry, but no. No,
She went further.
I went for it. I'm like, oh, what are you a speed camera? Do you know how fast I was going? No, you don't. What are you, a cop? And he's like, I'll get the cops. And then it's like a red rag to a bull. I'll get the cops, he said. I'm like, get them! I want them! Bring them here right now! And he's like, well, I will. I'm like, do it! I want them! Get them here, right? And so he gets on his radio, and he's obviously talking to the girl across the road with the other controller. But I then put my window back down and go, you're gonna need a phone! The police don't come on a walkie-talkie, right?
God, Nick.
Totally like loose. I was a loose unit, and my friend's sitting calmly beside me, and she doesn't even look in my direction. She just says, he's never turning these lights green for us, right? And so, but I was too far gone, and so eventually a couple of cars come up behind us, and he had to then turn it green, and I wasn't done. I put my window down again and gave him another good spray on my way past. It's just like, and my friend was like, who are you? And it came out of nowhere, and I was fuming. I think back at that sort of stuff, and I just go, good Lord,
that is an epic outburst. And I wish I could have witnessed that. I love taking my dogs to the beach, and it's good therapy for me. Get out for an ocean walk. I was having a really bad day, like I was angry at the world for taking my husband, and really upset and really depressed. So I thought I'm going to go for a nice walk on the beach with my dogs. Anyway, get on the beach, throw the ball for the dogs. My youngest dog decides to do a little poo in the water just on the shoreline. So I'm reaching for the poo bags in my pocket, and this lady's sort of walking behind me, and then she stops, and I turn around to her, and I'm like, oh, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm just waiting for you to pick up that poo. Oh my God. And she goes, go on then. And I'm like, what do you think these are for? These are poo bags to pick up my dog's poo. So in amongst all this, the poo's sort of floating on the edge of the water, right?
The story.
The dog's ball is floating amongst the poo. I've got two dogs there trying to get the ball through the poo while this lady's behind me waiting for me to pick up the poo, right?
I've never heard the word poo so many times in a minute.
So I'm like, okay, all right, let's be practical here. I need to get rid of the ball and the dog. So I get the ball throw, I pick up the ball, throw the ball and the dogs are gone, right? And I'm like, okay, now I can concentrate on picking up this poo. So I get my hand in the poo bag, and as I'm going down, this wave just comes in and washes the poo away. And I'm like, oh. And I turn to the lady and I'm like, oh, guess it's gone. And then she looked at me disgusted. And I said, well, what did you want me to do? And then she said, well, instead of throwing the ball for the dog, you could have picked up the poo first. And my blood was literally boiled by then. I basically told her where to go, using a few bad swear words, and then just stormed off. And oh my God, that felt so good. And I have never done anything like that ever.